Okay, I'd like to call the Joint Special School Building Committee to order at Nashua High School North Lecture Hall. Today is Tuesday, August 23rd, 2022, and it's 7:04 p.m. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Yes. Alderman Dowd.
Present.
Alderman Wilshire. Not here. Alderwoman Clee.
Here.
Thank you. Alderwoman Timmons. Here. Alderman Sullivan.
Here.
Ms. Raymond is not here. Ms. Lampier.
Here.
Ms. Bishop is here. Ms. Gilio.
Here.
Mr. Claffey.
Here.
We have a
They're all
quorum.
here.
Okay, would the clerk please read the prayer? Would, well, I guess we can have Ms. Ring. Would Ms. Lampier please lead us in the pledge?
Sure. Please stand up for this. Almighty God, we have the high honor and serious duty to manage the educational affairs of our beloved city. Fill us, O God, with the spirit of unity and understanding, which enables us to face our multiple problems with a serene mind, with justice and charity for all, so that any and all decisions made by us will always be for the betterment and greater happiness of all of our fellow citizens. So help us God. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Without objection, I'll waive the reading of the minutes of the July 21st, 2022 meeting and place them on file. Remarks by Chairman. Thanks everyone for being here this evening. Yet another summer meeting, but fall is right around the corner. Okay, remarks by school administration, Mr. Smith.
Yes, I brought reinforcements with me tonight. We have the superintendent and the assistant superintendent, relatively newly anointed. And also, we have new guests tonight, which will be a fixture in future meetings from EEI, which stands for
Energy Efficient Investments.
That's Mike Davey in the teal shirt and Matt Smith in the blue shirt, who happens to be my son's name also, but no relation. And that's all I had.
That's all. And the superintendent or assistant superintendent want to say anything, or? You'd have to go to a microphone.
Somebody said you should sit here.
Just in general, want to thank the JSS BC for all the work over the last 2 months. I've been really impressed with the commitment to the buildings and the dedication to make sure that we have safe, sound, healthy, innovative learning spaces for all of our students. So I just really want to thank this committee for your dedication and hard work to create those environments for our students. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. Items for discussion. The first item will be an update on the architect's report from Harriman. Jamie?
Good evening. I was thinking as I was sitting here that tomorrow's going to be Friday, woohoo, but that's not going to be the case this week. Yeah, so I handed out a memorandum that as a summary of the middle school projects in 55 Franklin Street, so I'll be covering that today. I don't have a presentation up on screen. I think as we kind of discussed at times, there's not a lot of design efforts to share that are fun, exciting things, but occasionally we'll be having those. And perhaps once we get a little further along in like Birch Hill and Main Dunstable, we can start sharing some work on that as well. Over at the Brian S. McCarthy Middle School, as some of you attended, I believe, I don't think I saw everybody, but it was the groundbreaking ceremony was held early, a couple weeks back, and we were just wanted to say we really enjoyed being there. It was what an excellent ceremony, great speeches. I think Brian's daughter had spoken. It was very touching. I really enjoyed it. So thank you for that. So On the efforts of design, we continue to review submittals, product data and stuff like that from Harvey and questions that come in from the field, providing responses to that. They're still coming in pretty fast and furious, but working to close them up as quickly as possible. Design items that are out there right now, we were able to actually, at the groundbreaking ceremony, review with the assistant superintendent, the superintendent, and the athletic director on the colors for the gymnasium. I think the red was chosen as the color and black as a secondary color. And so I actually brought some samples. It's from afar, you might not be able to see it very clearly, but there was selections of like reds in these tones. So I didn't want to choose the wrong red, so I wanted to have physical samples in hand. So these are like the bleacher colors, and the red was the chosen color that matches what I believe was an Elm Street color, or as close as it comes to it. And then there's wall pads, and we're still working on the exact layout, but they'd like to see some blacks and reds on those wall pads, so we're working with that and coming up with some ideas to share, to review. And then, floor paint colors, so there's a lot of options, but very few in the red tones. We want to make sure we grab the right one for that. So that was a very productive discussion, and we were able to get that information back to Harvey to start procuring some of those materials. It's been, I think as you're all aware, it's been an element that's been out there for a little while, but we had to make sure we had the right choices before we proceeded with that. So that was a excellent meeting to begin closing up. We also have been reviewing and exploring possible adjustments for different access at some of the adjacent parcels of land at the main access drive. There's been some inquiries on, we have a sidewalk on the north side of that access drive that kind of stops the person to the north, not stops, but maybe impedes their access to their land where they use tractors and stuff to haul wood. So we're looking into providing a curb cut at that location so that it's easier access and doesn't slow that access for their use. And so we've been working on that. I think there's been conversations with planning board and the city council, and making sure that we DPW, making sure that we meet the requirements of the city and the administration of the city. So working on that. I don't think that's totally resolved, so we're still in planning, reviewing and exploring. I think at a recent JSSBC back in June, there was some discussion about some additional detailing that was ongoing with the firewall at near area A, so the big part of the building, the area that's the public side of the building. We had introduced a firewall under PR, I think it was 4. And there was, you folks had approved that to go through as some adjustments that were required to meet codes. We were working on some additional adjustments to that, some steel, additional steel, some adjusting the details of the wall and some roof details. This was a follow-up from that PR that was approved. And I bring that up because tonight, I know Ken from Harvey is going to be presenting PCO 8. And so I just kind of want to give a little heads up to that so that you're not unaware of what that is once he gets to it. I'm sure he can touch on what the contents of that are, but I know some steel and masonry and a few other elements, some roofing. So it's an addition to that original PR that was already approved. That's it for the Brian S. McCarthy Middle School. A lot of work happening over there. If you haven't been by, maybe I should suggest not to go around, stay away from Medallion Court, but go around the loop and check it out. Steel's up and slabs are poured. Some of the slabs are being poured. I mean, it's a presence now for sure. So over at Pentatruck Middle School, again, we continue to review submittals and questions from the field. A lot less there. Being on site there, it's looking really, really good. I know Ken has some great pictures to share today of a lot of the progress. I'm sure it's a week old still, but you see the corridors and stuff like that, and the exterior wall being finished up, and it's looking real nice. So I'll let him, I won't steal his thunder on that one. But we are continuing to monitor work over there in progress, on site every 2 weeks, doing walkthroughs and making sure that it meets the construction documents. Yes, so at one of the, I think it might have been the last JSSBC, we had presented a proposal from us to design dehumidification for the school. We continued that effort. It's not something that happens as quickly as we'd like it to, but I think the intent is to have that design in October, the end of October, so that Harvey can begin pricing that. So that continues to make progress. I was just having conversations with the engineers on it yesterday, and they continue to make good progress. So on Fairgrounds, that's a lot lighter lift. It's really just making, continue to watch the progress that's happening over there. There's been a lot over the past few weeks, and I know Ken has a little more to share with some photos there. That one's getting there, nearly there. I guess while I'm thinking of it, it actually is not in the my memorandum here, but there was a request, and we have not proceeded very far with design element of this, only simply discussions and ideas, but there's been a request from safety and security to look at providing door protection around the building in the means of bollards or what Harriman has proposed, and they like the idea of is maybe using some concrete seating at some of the more aesthetic areas, as a barrier to prevent vehicles or other means of access through those doors by a vehicle. And so we're exploring options for that. It's nothing that we've designed yet, and nothing's been priced or anything like that, but it's just kind of reviewing those. I think the Assistant Director of Security Safety and Security had suggested that it was something that is recommended out of Homeland Security. So he'd like us to explore that a little bit, and that's what we're doing. And once we have some ideas in mind and whatnot, we can bring that back here and share that with some of the imagery that we presentation or whatnot. But I think nice concrete benches that provide a strong barrier. I think if you went to Fairgrounds, you might remember some of those concrete seating or those block seatings. Something in maybe not necessarily that, but other elements. There's all kinds of options. So something that brings like a nice feel to the entry, but still has a function, a strong function. So, all right, and then 55 Franklin Street, continuing coordination meetings over there, submittals, questions from the field as they come in. We were asked to look at providing some ADA access, most notably to there's a ramp that comes down the front stairs or the front entry, and the existing sidewalk does not have a curb cut for somebody being dropped off to allow them to go up right up at that area. So we're looking at that. There's some light grading issues in that area to make it fully compliant. So we're looking at trying to provide it in the right spot. So the design's being worked on that. So that was a recent ask, and we've been working on that a little bit over the past couple of weeks. I think that's it over at 55 Franklin Street. I know that both EEI and Harvey have a little bit to present on progress over there, so they'll let them speak about that. And one final element that I wanted to bring up today that I didn't make the list because it happened this morning, but the superintendent, Mr. Smith, Harriman, the principals of Maine Dunstable and Birch Hill, I think the assistant principal, new assistant principal as well for Birch, met this morning, started to talk about that project a little bit, trying to get that one moving. And so it was great meeting, very productive, just kind of really looking at what the scope is and what it's going to be as we move this thing forward. I think there's a little exploring that needs to happen before we get there. But I think, in light of time, I think that's kind of something we're going to try to move on I don't want to say fast, but quick review, because I think some of it is lead time items and keeping these mechanical elements that need to be ordered in time to work with ESSER funding. So we want to make sure we explore all the right options, but keep on a schedule that allows the use of those ESSER fundings. It's a good amount of money. That's not something you'd want to pass up on. So, but we want to make sure we do it right in that same vein and not rush things so that it doesn't get accomplished correctly. So, just wanted to mention that we had met that meeting and things are starting to build up on that one. So, that's it tonight.
All set. Questions for the architect? Alderman Clee?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And when you had mentioned the curb cut, that was the only thing that kind of perked at my ears. So when you do this curb cut, it's not, I know that you keep safety in mind all the time, but it's not going to affect those that are walking with ADA issues with thinking that there's a curb there that's not there. I can't picture where it is. That's why
Yeah, so a curb cut is kind of like, it's usually called, it can also be called a tip down, right?
Right.
So it's like the little sidewalk haunch down, usually happens in a short span, but it allows a wheelchair to get onto it. I'm not sure what the question is.
Okay, let me be a little clearer. The curb cut would be at a corner where we would expect to have a curb cut, a tip down, as you said, and not like in the middle of the sidewalk. So you're not going down a straightaway and suddenly there's a curb cut halfway through it, is it?
It could be. It could be.
That
It's gonna.
concerns me, I
It's
guess, a
gonna.
little bit,
It's
yeah.
not uncommon. It's not the whole sidewalk. It's a piece of it, and it's tapered down on both sides, and the back, and then there's a piece of flat area. I think you're gonna want it right where
The ramp.
the best drop off is to meet ADA compliance. If you push, I would have concerns if you start to try to push the ADA drop off away from the main entry. That's kind of providing an obstacle to somebody.
But this curb cut was for the gentleman who needs to get his tractor in and out, not,
Oh, you're
Oh,
talking,
no, different, you're talking apples and oranges there.
right, no, the curb cut I'm
The
talking
curb cut
about.
is on Dan Antonio Drive is the one for the trees.
Right, for the gentleman who needs to get his tractor. That's where my concern is that particular curb cut that you mentioned.
okay, I'm sorry, I
okay,
misunderstood. I
no.
thut you were talking about the one at 55 Franklin Street.
No, I apologize.
so
This
the
is
one-
at the Brian S. McCarthy Middle
Yeah,
School one.
okay,
Yeah.
sorry. So at Di Antonio Drive, it's the whole sidewalk that's going to come down and be at grade level for a period of, the length hasn't been determined, but I think it's 10 to 20 feet, so that a potential driveway could be put in there. Part of that, though, coming from planning, is that there's the need for a driveway permit or something like that is required, so that would have, my understanding is that would have to be filed by the occupant or the owner of the property that we're trying to do that to. But what we're doing basically is taking the sidewalk, tipping it down the 6 inches to a flat surface, and then tipping it back up. We had initially thought we'd put a crosswalk striping across that, but at this time, DPW says it's not, it's a maintenance item and not necessary because it's not a road, like you'd have at a road. It's like more like a driveway than a road.
So the curb cut he's talking about is part of the purchase and sale agreement we made. The other side of the road is just an opening so that they can cross the road. There's an old trail there that runs across that road. So it's the people that sold us that particular piece of land, so they can get to their property, which is sort of landlocked on the other side without that curb cut. But they can get from their property on the Buck Meadows side of the road to the other side of Dan Antonio Drive.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other questions for the architect? Yes, Ms. Bishop?
Not a question, but I think we forgot to mention that administration came up with Mustangs for the new Bryan Middle School mascot. So just wanted to share that. It'll be the McCarthy Mustangs.
The animal, not the car.
It's not the car.
Oops.
Yeah, I'm staying away from any colors and namings of anything as far as mascots. So, all right. Go to the construction manager's report from Harvey. Ken?
Okay, thank you. So I handed out an agenda, and for the sake of saving some trees, I didn't print out all the attachments. They were already previously sent out via links. So we'll just have to listen to me and trust what I'm saying. So I'm going to give a quick update on.
We need some lights adjusted.
Yeah, thank you. Give you a quick update on the Brian McCarthy Middle School, the Pentatruck Middle School, the Fairgrounds Middle School, and then Kathy will give an update on the on 55 Franklin Street.
I did the first two, I turned it back on.
We've already got the first
Get 'em
two.
down.
All set, if
Down?
we're good.
No, we've got them already.
I'm fine.
We did them on this side.
I'm just gonna go back to my seat.
Okay.
We did it from this side.
So I'll give a quick construction update on each of the projects. I'm sure everyone has questions, concerns, and just want to get a good update. So feel free to stop me at any time, and I'll do my best to answer your questions. After the construction update, Kathy and I have a few potential change orders and prime contract change orders to present to the committee for approval. So with that, I'll move into the presentation for the schools. So here we have the overview of the new middle school, the Brian S. McCarthy. Again, as Jamie mentioned, progress moves very fast, so I kind of labeled kind of the sequence of construction. So we're going from C, let me see if I can do this. So C, B, D, A. That's the way that we're currently constructing this building right now. So right now, if you go to the job site, you'll see that steel's being erected in area B, and then we'll move over to D and over to A. So to answer some questions that I fielded before the meeting, the new access road from Buck Meadow, which is D'Antonio Drive, that's in progress right now, and we're looking at completion of that road at the end of August. At that point, Eversource will begin running the three-phase power from Buck Meadow up towards the school, which will allow us to get permanent power to the building. So I think we're planning on middle of September, we'll stop using the paved road that's right there. That's the emergency access road off of Cherrywood Court. So that'll no longer be used by our construction vehicles, which I think the neighbors who have been very gracious will appreciate. All the tree clearing and grubbing has been substantially completed. Right now, we're working to develop the back portion of the site over here. So we're taking a lot of that material from this portion of the site and using it to finish constructing the road that you'll see over here that kind of connects down to Buck Meadow. So that'll be the new entrance from Buck Meadow to the school. Parking areas in the athletic field is currently in development as well. Blasting has been completed. Everything went very well with that portion of the project. We blasted for roughly 2 weeks and went off without a hitch. As I mentioned, so just kind of jumping into the building. So in Area C, the steel erection is relatively complete right now. Now we're working on all the detailing, so that's all the miscellaneous like small welds, and just addressing all of the inspections and reports that are going forward. So the way that steel works is, we kind of do all the heavy lifting, and then the iron workers come back and do all the small detailing. So they'll go from C to B to D to A until the building's essentially complete. So the slabs on grade, which means the slab on the dirt, we're placing the area A. Area D has already been placed. We're placing Area A in sequences to allow the crane to kind of move around on site. So all the steel erection is relatively complete in Area C. All the slabs on deck will be ongoing. So I will be placing the first level slab this week, and it'll be ongoing through September. And we'll be starting the roofing in late August. So once we have the roof on, we'll start to be able to perform the framing and start building the inside of the school and get weather tight for the winter. As I mentioned, so Area B slab is already placed, Area D has been placed, and Area A, as I mentioned, will be completed sometime in September. Any questions on sequencing and how things are going to look? I know there were some questions about the access road, and I just wanted to make sure that that was addressed.
Alderman Sullivan?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is there, I have been in contact with, excuse me, a resident from Cherrywood who listed out a bunch of questions. I'd like to, I don't want to bring up all the questions here, but I would like to direct this resident to perhaps an online resource with maybe a finished, if there's a finished rendering of what the middle school is going to look like, just so he can take a look at where the trees are going to be, just the design of how it's going to look when they're finished. Is there anything online?
I just did a presentation of the Rotary on how this project started and to date, including the renderings of the new school, and that can be provided electronically. I think what we'll do is we'll put it on the school website. Maybe we can get
Stacy?
Hines to Stacy to put it on the website, and then they can just access it. It'll tell them how we started 7 years ago and why we're doing what we're doing and where it will be in September of '24.
Yep, okay. I appreciate that.
And I think it answers I saw your email. I think it answers all their questions.
Yep, okay. Very good. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Ken?
Moving into some photos of the McCarthy Middle School. So I'll start up here on the upper left. This is D'Antonio Drive, standing kind of at the entrance of Buck Meadow. So you can see all the heavy cut that had to take place and how much we had to raise the grade up here. So that's why it's a roughly 2-month process. Should be over in the next couple of weeks. Here's a view standing in one of the stair towers looking at area A. So this is the gymnasium area over here. A lot of multi-use bathrooms and locker room areas before the slab's been placed, obviously. This kind of shows the coordination effort that we go through with our coordination team along with all of our subcontractors. So this is what we need to make sure that we get right before we place concrete. So I just wanted to give the group an idea of what it looks like before the concrete goes down. Here's a view of D'Antonio Drive looking down towards Buck Meadow. So you can see this is further along. This subgrade is established. Subgrade is pretty much established here. This photo was taken, I think, 2 weeks ago, so they've come a long way, and they're just about ready to open up the street at Buck Meadow. And then here's a view of Area C construction standing on Area D slab. A couple more photos of concrete being placed. Any questions on the McCarthy Middle School?
The roof line on D is as high as the building will be, correct? It sort of level across the whole school?
Correct.
Yeah. So it won't be any higher than what you see there today.
C.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, moving over to Pentatruck Middle School. So I did hand out this this phasing plan that I think I've redone 17 times, but this is this is something that is important because it makes the administrators and the teachers comfortable. We've been meeting, my superintendent, Mr. Smith, and myself with the administrators, and I think assistant superintendent joined us last week for one of our meetings, just to kind of give everybody a sense of what the school's going to look like at Pentatruck on day one of school and when the teachers return. So basically what you're looking at here is everything in green is going to be open and ready for school. I'll kind of go through the list here. So the North Classroom Addition, that's relatively complete. We're performing final inspections, and we hope to obtain the certificate of occupancy at the end of this week. We have our final walkthrough with the fire marshal. He's already been through the building many times and is comfortable with what he's seen. So again, we're just waiting for the final sign off from the fire marshal. Once we obtain that, we'll have certificate of occupancy, and then we can occupy the school. So that's this section up here. In the new north addition, we'll have a temporary computer lab. That's kind of what we're using as temporary swing space to house the students that will be moving into the new computer area here, and then also the new learning commons here. And then also these two classrooms will serve as the temporary library and media center until the new addition is complete, which is scheduled for December 2022. So probably complete in the early portion of December, and which will allow plant operations and school administration to move the furniture and kind of get that space ready for the return of, I think, the third semester. So I just mentioned the learning commons. So all the steel erection is complete. The roofing and framing is in progress. It should be complete within the next week or so. And we're currently performing all the overhead mechanical, rough-in, electrical. I'll show some photos of the progress there. The existing school renovation, so there was a lot of work that needed to get done in 8 weeks, and I know there were some panicked faces when they walked through 2 weeks ago, but I think if you'll walk through now, you'll be put at ease. So just to kind of highlight the areas that needed to be completed, all these science classrooms, there were 6 science classrooms. There were 3 folding partitions that were added to existing classrooms that were completed this week. All of the corridors were completely renovated, new floors, new ceilings, new emergency lighting, fire alarm, new lockers, everything. Those are all complete, and Mr. Smith's staff's been working with our staff to make sure that the floors are ready to go and waxed and everything's been cleaned. So this week is cleaning and getting it ready for day one. The exterior building improvements, I think a lot of people have noticed that the temporary lights have come down at Manchester Street. We do have a final walkthrough tomorrow with the city, DPW, and the engineer of record. So we're just kind of tweaking things, making sure, again, that we're ready to go for next week. Site improvements, you've noticed we kind of pulled back our construction fencing today. Curbing, all paving and final striping, except for the bus loop has been completed. All the site furnishings and plantings are going in as we speak. And the landscaping and irrigation, kind of just watching the weather, making sure that it doesn't go in during a heat wave. So we'll be doing that throughout the fall. Any questions on the phasing? I didn't bring up the gym. The gymnasium will be turning over at the end of September. We've been in contact with Athletic Director Lisa Gingras. We've been able to have a contingency plan for night events. Volleyball, I think, is being hosted in the gymnasium. So right now, I believe they finished the first sanding of the gym floor today. They put down an initial coat of finish. They let that set up, and then they do fine sanding, painting, and then we'll be installing the bleachers at the end of September. So everything seems to be tracking right on schedule. Any questions on phasing? Sure.
Alderman Clee?
Thank you. Just a quick clarification. So when I look at the blue area, it says complete September 2022. That'll be after school has started, and so before October, some point in September. Is that what that means?
Correct. So right now, these science rooms, the teachers in these science rooms are currently occupying rooms in the New South Addition that was turned over in March. So all that needs to be complete in here is some miscellaneous plumbing and electrical. So this has always been the plan with Principal Falzarano. So once these are complete, we'll work with plant operations in moving those teachers into their final spaces.
Just one more.
Alderman Clee?
Thank you. We did notice that the temporary lights had on Manchester Street had come down, and I've been hounding Alderman Dowd about the functionality of those lights. I used to think it was just my husband that they went red for, but I think it's everybody that drives through there. They always seem to be red, even if there's no cars coming through. He's assured me that has been fixed. Is that within your purview, or is that a separate?
No. So we're in charge of that work as well. So I think that the issue that we found with the lights being red more often was because we were still working actively in the entrance of the job site. So it was telling the lights that there was traffic there when there wasn't. So I think that was the issue, and I believe the engineer has addressed it, and we've worked out those kinks with East Coast Signals, which was the contractor that installed
Right,
it.
their latest information is it's been corrected. The trip lane from the bus route, there's a lot of heavy equipment going over there all the time because they're still working the site.
Right.
So that was tripping the light that says, hey, I got buses that want to leave. They've fixed that for now.
I can tell you that it was happening on weekends too, when you
Yeah,
didn't have a whole lot of people there, and even at night, so.
All going to be addressed tomorrow.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate that. I get a lot of those calls.
We're
and-
also moving a sign that they put in the wrong place.
And I'm a cranky resident too there, so.
And by the way, just a couple of points. One is that as soon as that intersection is complete, it gets turned over to DPW. It's a city street, they own the light, once we give it to them. The other thing is,
I know their number.
when we open the school this fall, it will be capable of holding between 800 and 1,000 students, and there'll only be 600. So they have lots of room for swing space until next year. Okay,
Alderman Dowd.
yes.
I was just wondering, you said there were contingency plans for the gym, and I was wondering what they were. Can it be used at all? Or will the volleyball have to be held somewhere else? Will kids be able to use it for gym classes or anything?
Right, so the volleyball has been moved to an alternate location, because we kind of were aware of this, of just the timing, because it takes roughly 1 month to refinish a gym floor. And unfortunately, we can't install the bleachers until the gym floor is completed. So this was something that we kind of planned for and planned with Lisa Gingras. So we were able to push the fall sports at night off a few weeks, which will allow us to complete the work, because everything else you'll see in the photos in the gym has been completed. And I believe the gym classes will be held outdoors for the first couple of weeks of school.
Okay, that's great, thank you.
He also, when they were doing the floors, and the same company was doing Nashua High South, and with the heat and humidity we've had this summer, it's been really tough to put the finishing down on the floor because it does not dry well in the heat and humidity. All right, Ken?
Okay, thank you. Just moving on to a couple of photos of the exterior of the site. So this photo right here, this is the north side of the school, so the main entrance where the parent drop-off. This has since been final striped. It was striped last Thursday, I believe. I think they've worked till late at probably 10 o'clock at night to get it all completed. These are this new crosswalk and lights at Manchester Street, which I think you've all seen. And then here's just a kind of a good example of what they call these it's a rain screen system. It's a tactile panel. This is what the finished exterior of the building will look like. We still have the protective covering on the metal panel that separates the windows here, but kind of gives you a good idea what the finished look is going to look like there. Moving into, so I don't know if you remember what the existing cafeteria used to look like, but this is the new cafeteria as of today. So the floors have been waxed and everybody's moving in there. So I think that was, I know the cafeteria was a big area of importance for the school, being that the gymnasium was not going to be open. And I know that that's where they're doing the welcoming for the 6th graders first and then the 7th and 8th graders the following day before the Labor Day weekend. So this area has been turned over. So here's the other side of the cafeteria. And then here's an example of what a new corridor looks like. You can see it's much brighter than it used to be.
Nice.
Brand new lockers. No wall base on it yet, but there it's on now.
Lockers, you can actually get backpacks in.
All right. Here's a photo of the gym that was taken yesterday. They've since finished sanding the entire floor. So I mentioned earlier they're applying the initial coat, and then they'll sand it again, and then they'll start the painting process. So you can see all the brand new hoops, all the painting, all of the, these are acoustical panels. The new gym divider curtain has been installed. So it's gonna look similar to Fairgrounds, but with the Pentatruck colors. This is the Learning Commons, so it's an aerial view of what the new Learning Commons and Media Center will look like from overhead. Right now, we're doing the exterior sheathing and the interior framing and rough-in. So this is moving along well. We should be completing this early December. Any questions on Pentatruck? Okay, moving into Fairgrounds. So Jamie mentioned that we're almost done over there. We're trying to finish over there, but we do know with any project, you run into some kinks that we need to kind of make right, or in tandem with Principal Coffey and Mr. Smith, just things that we think should be done to kind of match the rest of the areas that were renovated. So just a couple of examples. We did do a full, with Harriman did provide a design for this. We did a full renovation, paint, ceiling, ductwork, all new carpet, all new wall base. So it's a great facelift over here in the media center. So this is the new media center. Much brighter than it used to be.
Those windows, that's great.
We did basically just kind of finishes in the guidance and nurse areas. This has all been completed. All new painting, floor, wall base. Science rooms, we have, there was one science room that we did not, it was not part of the original scope of the project. So it did not receive the brand new furniture that the other classrooms did. The district thought that it was a good idea that we provide brand new tables for this science room. So these science rooms, this science room got all new furniture, new tables, and each science room got these kind of cord drops here. So it's kind of makes it easier for the teacher to get power to certain locations in the rooms. We did replace, I think there was 5 exterior new doors with abatement included as well. And we received wall protection, and we noticed that the student commons areas get a lot of traffic, and the walls were getting dinged up. So we came up with the solution to provide custom color FRP, which is just wall paneling that you kind of see typical to hospitals. So that came in today, and we're going to try to get in there this week and hopefully have that installed before school starts. So we got a lot of work that's gone on over at Fairgrounds. And I do have, tonight, I'll get to it in a little bit, I have a potential change order for some miscellaneous mechanical and HVAC temperature issues that we'll get into. So I think that's it for Fairgrounds. And Kathy's going to take us through at 55 Franklin Street.
Any questions on Fairgrounds? No, the work keeps continuing. Okay, 55 Franklin Street. So in general, if you recall, the scope of work happening here is running parallel with what EEI is doing, so we'll let them review the scopes that they're performing and share the work they're doing, which will be a similar fashion to how the future Maine Dunstable and Birch Hill projects will go. There'll be 2 of us working in parallel on different systems but together, so it makes it a different challenge, and we're working well together, so that's not been a problem. The challenge with this school is certainly, how short the summers are and the amount of work we're trying to get done. So for this summer, Harvey's scope was simply to do the exterior stair towers and the second floor renovation to the finishes, the flooring, and build that ADA ramp. So what we have been working on are the structural pads that those stair towers will sit on. The structural stair towers themselves not all the parts are galvanized yet. A lot of them are, but not all of them. So next week, though, we should be bringing the stair towers to the site and start erecting those. And then the ADA ramp you can see there is in progress. And these pictures aren't from the sidewalk and the street, but this is where Harriman and Jamie were talking earlier about putting in a tip down for accessibility from the road onto the sidewalk to get onto that ramp. So we have been sharing information, taking existing grades, sharing that along so that the design team can take a look at it and figure out where exactly to put that tip down, and as Jamie mentioned, you want it close to the front door, but maybe we don't have quite enough of the distance required for the ramp elevation, so maybe it has to slide over. So that's the process we're in now, to try to figure out what needs to be done. The other bulleted item on there is these new stair towers go into the third floor. So right now, not in when these aerials were taken, but there's a cutout in the exterior wall at the third floor level, so the new man doors can go in there. So if you had to egress out, you'd land on the stairs and go down that way. So working that way. I think there's a slide of some inside pictures, which would be just the second floor. So we're doing things like tile and flooring work. And again, since then, a lot more flooring has gone down, and painting's been done. Bathroom work has been done. So it's just kind of tough with the timing of the pictures and getting all the work done. We will be, school in Franklin Street is not starting in September, as we know. So as we can continue to get our work complete, we're pretty close. But it would have been, with the lead times of the stair towers, if you remember months ago, we ordered those early here and we're still having trouble making them for school. So it was a smart decision to give us the ability to get all the scope done before students are in the building. And we should be wrapping that work up. And then our next focus to work together for us is to figure out if we can continue working in the basement and how long we can do that, working maybe while school's happening if we get into December. So we'll see how that all aligns. That's kind of what we're working on behind the scenes.
Also, any coordination with the streets, whether it's dip downs or curb cuts or markings or signs, is all done in concert with the DPW. All right.
I have a question.
Question?
Yeah, I have actually two questions about Franklin Street. I just want to be clear about I know the preschool kids aren't going back there, but are the kids that were on the third floor, are they returning in September? And the other question is, I wasn't sure if the streets have been made one ways yet, and if there's been any issues with that.
Well, I'll let the superintendent in a second answer the question on whether the kids are going back on the third floor. But as far as the streets, no, we're working in concert with DPW.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing the marking plan for the streets, and they're also constructing the signs. And at one point, it was urgent to get it done by the end of August. Now, not so urgent.
Okay.
So I would say probably early September, we'll be marking the streets, changing the one-way direction.
All right, thanks.
To address the first question, as I reported to the BOE, both groups of students, the Brentwood students and our pre-K students, will be working with receiving instruction with our partners at the Boys and Girls Club through November.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just thought it was the preschool kids.
No, it's both groups.
Okay.
So again, it's a great community partner with our Boys and Girls Club to provide the space for our students.
Yeah, that's great that they can accommodate both of them.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So now I'd like to have EEI, excuse me.
Just a
Alderman Sullivan.
quick question on the pictures for 55 Franklin Street. The bird's eye view of the school in the upper left.
Yes.
I was trying to zoom in on my computer. That does not, that's an old picture, right? So that doesn't have, I can't see the ADA ramp in that picture, correct? That was taken before, or am I missing it? Is it on there?
I think just the sand things are.
Yeah, no, the ramp's not there yet. Or
Okay.
the railings may not be on the ramp. Like, there may be preparations for the ramp
Okay.
on that, sort of to the left of the overhang at the entry.
Got it.
Definitely the railings are not on it.
Okay.
Those aerials were taken 3 weeks ago? Yeah. Oh, so a little longer than that.
All right.
So several weeks ago.
Okay. I just wanted to see how it would look from the top, but, all
Those
right.
Every couple
sites-
months, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
All those sites change daily.
sure.
Alderman Cleen?
Thank you, and this isn't for the workers, it's for you, Alderman Dowd. When you said that, that it wasn't so urgent, and I assume it's because the students aren't in there, the changing of the one-way and so on. The no parking while they're not there, the residents will still be able to park, correct?
Yes, the no parking is during school hours only. We've had, I believe they're in process of being made. There's a sign for all 4 sides of the building that say what the school hours are. But vacations, holidays, summers, and the no parking doesn't apply. It's only during school hours.
My question was, seeing they're not going in until November, the residents can park there now, just because school is back, that school is not open.
School's not in session, right?
Okay, well, no, I just want to make sure that it's not during just the school year. While they're not using those I wanted to make sure that the residents that are there, they're being, there's a lot being asked of them, and I just want to make sure that
They'll all know.
while the school is not being functionally used at this moment, in September and October, they can still continue to park there. That's all I wanted to
Right.
clarify, so, thank you.
Okay. All right, now, Ms. Bishop?
Are we eventually putting solar on Franklin Street?
I don't believe so. We are.
We had discussed it, but that is at least a year away. So next summer, part of the plan is to replace the roofing.
Yeah.
And we've had some discussions with the solar company about putting solar on the roof. But we
It's
haven't
not-
made the final decision yet.
It's not contracted yet. They are in the process of putting the solar on Pentatruck earlier than we wanted them to, but they have to be totally complete and generating power by the end of December, so
Yeah.
they're doing it on the slanted roofs right now and waiting for Harriman to finish their design on the roof penetrations for the dehumidification, so they know where to put the panels. But that solar panel array will be functional by the end of December. And we're also looking at putting solar on Main Dunstable, Birch Hill. So, and the solar panels that we have in place already are generating a profit for the city. I won't go out on a limb as to what it is because we're still trying to figure out that bill from Eversource, but we are making money,
I'll take some of
saving
that.
money, I guess. Yes.
Just
Mrs.
as an
Gilio.
aside, I had Revision Energy put solar on my house, and it actually became active on July 20th. 2 days ago, I got my Eversource bill for this month, and they gave me a credit of $12. And I was using my pool and running air conditioners and everything. I get a lot of sun
You have a
on my
pool?
house.
We'll all be over.
Yeah, I just shocked it today. We'll have to wait a couple of days.
Any other questions? Now I'll turn it over to EEI. They're doing the HIVAC on Franklin Street.
So if you had come to the site in May, the building was steam heat with a single giant air handler in the basement and asbestos insulation covering all the ductwork. In the last 4 months, we've taken that time to do a very massive abatement of all the asbestos. We've removed the steam piping throughout the building, and we've removed most of the ductwork so that now we'll have individual air handlers on each floor that'll provide ventilation air and air conditioning and heat for each floor, as well as energy recovery ventilation in the basement. So that project was fairly massive. The thing when you have a steam heated building, once you go to change it over, it's sort of all or nothing. So the steam boilers have to be converted, all the piping has to be changed. All that work has happened in the last few months with immense level of coordination with Harvey and Harriman, which has been a great partnership. We've also upgraded the lighting to LED lighting, so it was all fluorescent lighting. And it was sort of a history of Nashua in this building because at one point this was a heavy R&D and manufacturing building. Then it was converted to a Christian education school. And so we saw all errors of piping, ventilation, cooling, and we had 2 weeks to rip it all out. So all that happened. And the school was also very, very cooperative. They let us get in over April break, do some work, and then do a little bit of work in May on the second floor. So right now, all of the new ductwork is completed. On the third and second floor, it's been inspected by the city fire and building departments. We're down on the first floor, finishing that up and mobilizing on the basement, the abatement. We kind of regrouped a little bit. At one point, we were going to do the basement ductwork after August, once we got the first 3 floors completed. When the superintendent made the decision with the team to utilize the Boys and Girls Club, we're taking advantage of that, and we're going to complete the basement ductwork before the students come back in November. So we're not just, sitting on our hands with this extra time. We're actually going to complete much more scope than was originally thought of. So all in all, it'll be a much better ventilation system. And because of the amount of upgrades that the district has committed to with the ventilation for this building, it actually made it eligible for federal funding. So most of the work that EEI is doing on this project is actually going to be covered by the federal ESSER funds.
Wonderful.
Any questions for EEI? Alderman Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I missed, you're replacing steam heat with
Hot water.
hot water. Great, thanks.
Any other questions? Thank you. Okay, I think the next item is your PCO number 8.
Sure. Okay, so this item here is for the Brian McCarthy Middle School, and this is a potential change order for the item that Jamie touched on earlier. So again, a PCO is just, if approved by the committee, it allows us, Harvey, to proceed with the work in the field with our subcontractors. So this was, just to kind of refresh everybody's memory, this, the original proposal request, PR4, was a code official enforced change that was required based on the building separation as part of the state's review of the design documents. So this PCO was kind of generated in tandem with Harvey and our subcontractors as part of the submittal process and shop drawing process. That's when you get into the details and you kind of run into items that you might not have seen prior. So this PCO, if approved, covers all the required structural steel changes, all the masonry revisions, adding additional footings and requirements for the masonry, and then all the way up to the roofing, kind of digging through the details. So if approved, this PCO number 8 for proposal request 28 will increase the contract value for a total amount of $92,004.49.
So I'll need a motion to approve PCO number 8 in the amount of $92,004.49. Mrs. Timmons? Alderman Timmons, sorry.
Okay.
Any discussion on this? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. That's all I had for the McCarthy Middle School and nothing for Pentatruck, so I have one last item for Fairgrounds. So kind of mentioned, and Mr. Smith, feel free to jump in at all. I mentioned earlier, speaking about Fairgrounds, after you've completed a renovation, there are certain items, certain spaces that probably should be addressed. So we've, in close conversations with Principal Coffey and her staff, there are 3 areas that have kind of been trouble areas as far as HVAC goes. One item was in the consumer sciences room. So in that area, where all like the technical education, all of those areas have dehumidified conditioned space. Unfortunately, that room did not have it, so she kind of has high temperatures in that location. So it was found that adding a mini split, kind of what you'd see in a residential space, to that room will provide cooler temperatures in there. So that's one item that's being proposed as part of this change order. Another item, special ed office in the 8th grade wing. As part of that design, we split those rooms in half, I believe, Jamie, right? And one of those areas didn't have supply and return, so there was no ventilation in that room. So this would be to add supply and return ductwork to that location. The last item here, this is the reading intervention room. So if you remember, the design of Fairgrounds had that kind of center octagon steam area where it's kind of more of a computer lab and industrial space. That space generates a lot of heat, so it's always calling for air conditioning. But the poor teacher in the reading intervention room doesn't have a thermostat in there, so she's getting blasted with cold air. So we're actually adding a separate mini split heat pump for her room so she can get some heat when the other spaces are calling for cold air. So those three items altogether, if approved by this committee, we would hopefully get this work on order and hopefully completed sometime over the Christmas break. It's a total contract value of $68,256.44.
So I'll need a motion to approve PCO number 15 in the amount of $68,256.44.
May I ask a question first? I was going to put my hand up, but you didn't give me a chance.
Well, we can use, if you.
Do you want me to?
We'll have questions after we.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Have the motion
Then
on the
I was so
floor.
moved.
Okay, so the motion's been moved to approve PCO number 15. Discussion?
Okay,
Mrs.
I just had a
Gilio.
question on the heat pump, the pumps that you're putting in there, that they do both heat and air conditioning?
Yes,
And will that heat be electric?
I'm
Or-
not sure. I'd have to look into it, but I believe it will be.
Okay, and there's already solar
There were
so it's-
other options that we were looking into modifying the existing unit that was put in as part of the Fairgrounds renovation, but then you're kind of messing with warranties with the brand-new unit, and that's not really something we want to be doing, so.
Okay, thank you.
Remember, the electrical and fairgrounds being run by the solar panels on the roof.
Yeah.
And if we ever get state approval, we'll be doing the batteries so that they can do it all day long.
Wow.
Long story. Any other questions on PCO number 15? 15? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Ken?
My turn. All right.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. Moving on with potential change orders for Franklin Street School. We've got 4 of them in front of us this evening. First one is PCO number 11, which is for proposal request number 4, exterior stair changes and nosing paint. So those exterior stair towers we've been waiting for were originally designed with an open grating in the stairs themselves. They have been changed to a solid diamond plate as required by the fire folks. So that there's actually no cost change for that piece, but it came out in this design change. The other piece we're adding is for safety. It's paint on the nosings of those stairs with an anti-slip grip in it. So that is what we have in front of us. The PCO is for the painter to provide that coating on the nosings for a value of $17,184.34.
Okay, I need a motion to approve PCO number 11 for the Franklin Street School in the amount of $17,184.34 for exterior stair changes.
So moved?
So moved by Alderman Sullivan. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Kathy?
Thank you. PCO number 12 is up next. This is for additional potential abatement. So if you recall, at the last JSSBC meeting, or maybe the one before, I had a change proposal that was processed and approved to remove a chemical fume hood out of the building, and we said, gee, I wonder if there would be more. And so we knew there would be, so we created this allowance for future ones. So we took a guess that there would be 6 more and put together a PCO that I asked Rick to go ahead and sign because we came across another one that had to be removed. So that one has already been approved by him, but it's not fully spent. It's sort of an allowance for what we come across. There have been 2 so far, but we have other floors to do next summer, so we will use it if we need to next summer. So this is PCO number 12 for additional potential abatement in a value of $16,010.25.
So I have already approved this, so I just need a motion to validate my approval for PCO number 12 in the amount of $16,010.25.
I'll make the motion.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Question.
Opposed?
I have
Question?
a question about the abatement. It says, is that all foreseen abatement or just additional?
Additional unforeseen abatement, so
Yeah.
it's, an allowance so that if we come across it, we can take care of it and charge it against this,
Okay.
this bucket of money. And then
Okay,
any,
because when you first, I was speaking, you said additional abatement, and I just wanted that unforeseen abatement added into that, so we know that's what it's for.
thank you, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that building, when you open up a wall, you may find things. A lot of old vents, exhaust vents behind those walls. Okay, Kathy?
Okay, the next one is PCO number 13, to add gates into our exterior fence. So this is for maintenance purposes. So outside of those exterior stair towers, they're fenced off for safety purposes, so people don't get in and try to climb up them. However, there's also some exterior equipment on a pad, on a concrete pad adjacent to the stairs, but inside the fence. So the facilities folks requested 2 4-foot wide gates be installed in the fence so that they can get in there and access the equipment for maintenance. So this is PCO 13 to add gates into the fences around one of the stair tower fences in the dollar amount of $2,294.81.
So I'll need a motion to approve PCO number 13 at the Franklin Street School for added fence gates in the amount of $2,294.81. Ms. Timmons? Alderman Timmons? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, last PCO for me this evening is number 14 for demolishing bathroom ceilings. And this is also an allowance amount for all the floors of the building. We came across it on the second floor. I needed to demolish ceilings that weren't shown on our drawings to have the ceilings demolished. We can foresee that we have that in the other floors as well, so we went ahead and did an allowance for all of the floors and requested that it be signed right away so we could get the demolition scope completed. So this is PCO number 14 to demolish bathroom ceilings that weren't shown to be demolished on our in our scope of work for a dollar value of $8,005.13.
So this is, you remember the last meeting, we said we were going to be approving things between meetings that had to be done. This is one of them. It's PCO number 14, so I'd like a motion to validate my approval of this back on 8/11 for demolishing bathroom ceilings.
I'll make
So
that
moved.
motion. I just like busting through ceilings, so.
She's been waiting for this
We
one.
might-
She was like,
Glass ceilings?
Yeah,
All
no
ceilings.
glass ceilings. Okay, any discussion on that, Alderman Sullivan?
Thank you. For this work and all work for these change orders that you have, do you go through a bidding process? Are all these bidded out, or how does that happen?
Well, the change order work, not necessarily, because we've already bid out the original job to the contractors that are in the space doing the work. So
I see.
oftentimes, when you're doing demolition, the demolition sub is already there.
Yep.
And so we find a situation where, we need to take something down. They'll oftentimes do the work on time and material. So in this case, with demolition, it's just tracking the labor, which our superintendent will confirm that, yes, they spent 6 hours doing it or 12 hours doing it or whatever. So from that regard, it was competitively bid to begin with, and then we utilize the contractors that are there. If we had a big change, I know sometimes it comes up on the big school where we're looking at some additional athletic equipment or things like that, we will go out and solicit several prices if it's a big enough, clear, separate piece of scope. But oftentimes, in a case like demolition, we would just go with the guy that we've already hired.
It would follow the same process for anything
Yes.
that you would, okay.
So the original contract, though, was bid out and approved. When they open up a wall, the reason this had to be signed is if you have one of these contractors and you let them leave the building and go away while we go through the approval process, God knows when you get them back. So that was the urgency, so. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
All right, thank you. And then the last item on the list for me is prime contract change order number 3. So prime contract change orders take all of the approved PCOs and actually total them up and add them to the contract. It's the formal contract change order. So what we have in front of us is PCCO number 3, which incorporates previously approved PCOs 6 through 10, 12, and 14. So PCCO number 3 is a dollar value of $73,109.21.
Just to reiterate, the PCCOs are just the modification of the contract. The PCOs and the amount of money have already been approved under the PCCOs, 6, 10, 12, and 14. So I'd like a motion to approve PCCO number 3 in the amount of $73,109.21.
So moved.
So move by Mrs. Gilio. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, next, Mr. Smith?
Yes, so this is another mechanical issue at Fairgrounds Middle School. To recap where we've been, we've gone through the construction process. We've added some new mechanical equipment in the school that was installed, that was commissioned by Turner Building Science and is functioning as is designed. We then, towards the end of the project, decided, actually you approved a change to Turner's contract to commission all the existing mechanical systems. So all the stuff that was installed in the mid-1990s was recommissioned. And it was a rather lengthy process. We did about 2-page worth of fine print work in-house, but then you may recall we contracted with CTI to do about $20,000 worth of work, which to me equated to 4 more pages of work, which they're about 95% done. So then you heard from Ken tonight, there were 3 issues that were discovered along that were outside of that. Still listening to the staff at Fairgrounds Middle School where the issues continue to exist. So this hopefully, I won't promise it, but this hopefully will put an end to all that at Fairgrounds for a while at least. I wouldn't say I promised to Rick that I wouldn't bring anything else, but I think this might be it. So we have an air handler that services the CTE section. So as you face the school, it's off the right-hand side. If you recall where the wood shops are, in the very, very corner is the Family and Consumer Science room with all the ovens and things like that. Much of Fairgrounds Middle School is the controls that control the HVAC system are pneumatic. So pneumatic is basically pressurized air, some little tubes that are running throughout the entire school. It's something that was used back in the 50s and 60s, and it's not used anymore. Everything is now digital, of course, and electronic. So over time, those tubes leak, and we've just gotten away from it. So wherever possible. In hindsight, I would have said, let's rip it all out of Fairgrounds Middle School, but we didn't. This particular air handler we've had a lot of troubles with, and so I'm recommending in this particular case we switch from the pneumatic controls over to DDC. It'll take care of a lot of issues in that corner of the building. It also takes care of the dust collector, which is in the wood lab. So that's a key thing to make sure we keep running properly. So we received a sales quote directly from Controls Technology, and it was for an amount of $16,200, and I recommend we proceed with that work.
So the Reader's Digest to that is we redid those 3 rooms. We thought that the existing handler would work on that. It didn't. So this is to put something in that will work. And it's in the amount of $16,200 to Fairgrounds Middle School service contract to CTI. Do I have a motion?
I'll do it.
All right. Ms. Bishop made the motion. Any discussion? Yes.
I don't know if I just missed this, but what does DDC stand for?
Direct digital,
Oh, so it's just a change to digital. I didn't know if it stood for something
yeah, it's
else.
it's basically, it's wire, it's electrical wire,
Okay, thank you.
low
Any-
voltage.
Any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Sean?
Okay. So Reader's Digest versions, is that the short story long, long story short? Thank you for doing that, though. So for Maine Dunstable Birch Hill, as you know, we already have Harriman on board as our architect. We have, and they're going to handle which will hopefully become the bonded section of the project. And we have EEI, it's doing the ESSER portion of the project. But we still need a construction manager. So we issued an RFP in July, received all the bids last week. At least the bids were due last week. And as it turned out, we only received one bid. So this was competitively bid, it was on the city's website, but we only received one bid. That bid was from Harvey Construction.
So I'll need a motion to accept the approval of Harvey Construction for the Maine Dunstable Birch Hill Construction Manager's position.
So moved.
So moved by Alderman Clee. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I would just say I have this electronically if anybody wants me to send the proposal to you.
Sean and I have
Let her
gone
know.
through it. It's as most Harvey contracts, pretty standard and certainly meets the requirements that we're looking for. Harvey, being very familiar with the two schools and the job, probably had an edge up on being willing to accept it under the, it's complex, to say the least, with two contractors working two schools simultaneously, and it's a little tricky, but nothing that Harvey hasn't done before, so, and done well. All right. Okay, invoices. We did vote, right?
I believe you voted.
Yeah. All right. Invoices.
So I'm reading from your agenda. So we have one invoice from Control Technologies for work at Fairgrounds Middle School. That was part of the commissioning work I mentioned, for $6,000. For East Coast Signals, that's for work at the intersection for the lighting at Pentatruck Middle School. That's $4,960. We have two invoices from Harriman for work at the Brian S. McCarthy Middle School and at Pentatruck, totaling $44,694.35. We have four invoices from Harvey Construction for work at Franklin Street, Pentatruck, McCarthy Middle School, and Fairgrounds Middle School, totaling $5,392,561.06. We have two invoices from Hayner Swanson. They're our surveying company. They did work for us at McCarthy Middle School and Pentatruck Middle School, totaling $4,193.25. One invoice from HP Inc., that's the computer company. They're providing computers to Fairgrounds Middle School. It was done through IT, and also for Pentatruck, totaling $43,956. We have three invoices from John Turner Consulting. So that's it. That's our testing company. They're the ones that inspect the steel after Harvey has it installed. They also look at concrete and dirt and everything. Those for work at McCarthy Middle School and Pentatruck, totaling $14,423.50. One invoice from RPF Environmental, who's our industrial hygienist for work at Fairgrounds Middle School for $355. One invoice from the Turner Group, which again is a commissioning agent for work at McCarthy Middle School for $2,897. Finally, one invoice from Vanessa and Associates. They are our traffic consultant for work at Pentatruck, $2,398.83. For the middle school projects, those all total $4,997,201.66. For Franklin, it totals $520,283.54, for a grand total of $5,517,485.20.
And I need a motion to approve the invoices for the Franklin Street project, $520,283.54. For the middle school projects, total $4,997,201.66. For total invoices to be paid this evening of $5,517,485.20.
So moved.
So moved by
Over here, I like to
Alderman
spend a
Timmons.
lot of money.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Comments by committee members? You're not the committee. Mr. Smith?
I'm not a committee member, but thank you. The RFP for the security vestibule project just went on the street yesterday. It was on a city website, hopefully today. I sent it to selected architects we've worked with in the past as well. So my hope is that, in fact, I've scheduled a mandatory walkthrough in early September and get bids the middle of September and bring it to you with a recommendation at September construction meeting.
So we're generally not naming the schools publicly until it becomes public information when the bid comes in for security reasons.
And Christopher Lassard's put in for security grants through the state that will hopefully pay for the architectural fees. But we
Right,
won't.
we
We
may
should
have-
hear back from that later on next week.
We may have state and federal funding if it gets here. Yes, Alderman Clee.
Thank you, and I'm sorry that I didn't raise my hand a little earlier. I did have a question, and how many schools do we have that don't have air conditioning in it? And we're talking about all the HVAC and so on. Do we have any, or?
That don't have air conditioning. We have quite a few, actually.
Okay. I don't need to know the names, though. I was just really curious as to, are we going to be working towards trying to get them in?
think
And
it's
this
just
is
the high
probably
school
more
that
for
does.
the Board of Ed people to speak, as well as you're hoping to do contracts on them.
So generally speaking, as we've gone through doing renovations, we've had dehumidification, which is a form of air conditioning.
Right.
So we, off the top of my head, we have Birch Hill and Maine Dunstable, which we've already initiated. You have 4 elementary schools coming up after them. And after that, then, I think that's about it. See, Pentatruck, we're working on.
Yeah, I know, you've got the dehumidification.
The
in
new
that
middle
one.
school will definitely have it, and Fairgrounds already has it. So it's really 6 elementary schools at this point.
Great.
It typically makes,
Exactly which ones?
No, I truly do appreciate after going through this heat that we've gone through, and I do remember back in the olden days when we did have cars back then, but
But
I do.
Bicentennial, Dr. Chris, New Searles, and Mount Pleasant are the other 4.
I do remember how hot it could be at the end of the year when you're just like waiting for that school to get out, and there wasn't enough fans in the windows that could keep you focused. So I love all the work we're doing, that everybody here has done. I'd just like to make sure that we do have air conditioners. We're getting to be a spoiled society. I told my husband, I don't know how I lived without air conditioning.
typically, we consider it once we've done an environmental impact on the school to increase insulation, windows, and various things. Otherwise, it's not as cost-effective as one might think. So, but we do want to have enough schools, so if they have summer school,
Right.
like the whole new McCarthy school will be totally air-conditioned. So we have schools that can be used if it gets really hot for summer school. But
Yes.
And this year has been the second warmest ever in the history of New England, so. Yes.
Okay, I'd like to make an announcement, as, you know, I just want to make sure that the public know that Nashua goes back to school at the Nashua Library is this Thursday from 5 to 6:30. Come down and meet your teachers, and your principal and superintendent will be there, of course, right? It's really a great event. I go every year and burn up. It's always the hottest day of the year. I don't know.
Yeah, I know.
But it's
We've already
usu-
had that.
It may be hot. That day is always hot, but I think it's a good event, and I think that you should bring your children down just to meet the teachers and the school principals and have a good time. It's really a good event, so.
We in a
I'll
group
see you Thursday.
packed all the bags of goodies today for the kids, and there were hundreds, 800, 900, I forget how many there were. It was like endless, but anyway, they were all ready for Thursday night.
Right.
Unfortunately, a quorum of us will be unavailable on Thursday, so the other ones can go.
Okay. Any other committee member comments? No? We don't need a non-public. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Miss- Alderman Timmons, motion to adjourn.
What?
All in favor
I won
signify
one.
by saying aye.
Aye. I thought-
Opposed, motion carries. We're adjourned at 8:30 PM.
8:30
Since I-
PM.
And the next meeting is September 22nd, 7 PM right here.